The next thing we need to talk about is how our body defends us against infection or how our immune system works. But before we get to that, we need to talk about a couple of things. We need to define a couple of terms. And the first term we need to define is pathogen. A pathogen is any disease-causing agent. It could be things like bacteria, viruses, different microorganisms, spores from various fungal diseases, and other such things. We also want to define and differentiate between innate defenses and adaptive defenses. Innate defenses are general defenses, non-specific defenses, things that protect us against many pathogens, but basically treat all pathogens the same. And then there are the adaptive defenses. These are things that are much more specific. We call these specific defenses. They are carried out specifically by the lymphocytes, the T cells and the B cells, and we commonly refer to this as immunity. They give us immunity to specific disease-causing agents, to specific pathogens. So in this video, we're going to focus on the innate or the non-specific defenses. In your textbook in Table 16.3 is a listing of the different types of non-specific or innate defenses and a brief description. So let's go over each of these. So first, there's species resistance. There are certain diseases that all species are resistant to. For instance, we're not going to ever get feline distemper. That disease affects specifically cats, whereas cats aren't going to get certain diseases that we can get. So by being human, there are certain things that we are resistant to or susceptible to. The other types of innate defenses include mechanical barriers, chemical barriers, natural killer cells, inflammation, phagocytosis, and fever. So let's talk about each of these just a little bit. So mechanical barriers are basically things that prevent pathogens from getting into your body. If the pathogen can't get into the body, for the most part, it can't cause you to be ill. It can't cause disease. And as long as we have unbroken skin and unbroken mucous membranes, you don't have cuts or nicks in those skin or the membranes, most pathogens can't get into the body. They need some opening to get in. There are some pathogens like hookworms that can burrow through the skin, but most of them can't get in. On our skin, we also have bacteria that naturally live there that help prevent the harmful bacteria from growing and things like that. And then there are what we call chemical barriers. These are various chemicals, enzymes, pH extremes, salt concentrations that can harm pathogens, that keep pathogens from growing in and on our bodies. We have chemicals that our body makes when we're infected, things like interferon, which block the spread of viruses. It's released by virally infected cells and helps slow down the spread of the virus to neighboring cells. There are chemicals that can cause phagocytosis, which is kind of like the white blood cells engulfing foreign materials and things like that. Various chemicals that can enhance the activities of cells so that they're more resistant to infection or to the growth of tumors. Defensins damage bacterial cell walls and membranes and help slow the spread of bacterial infection. Collectins can grab onto microbes and help the immune system to recognize them and destroy them. Complement, we'll talk more about later, is a group of proteins that can actually poke holes in virally infected cells, can cause inflammation, can attract phagocytosis, and help, again, with fighting infection. There's a specific type of lymphocyte called a natural killer or an NK cell that secretes a protein called perforins, which will cause virally infected cells and cancer cells to break open so that the virus can't reproduce or so that the cancer cells can't continue to replicate and continue to crowd out healthy cells. And one of the things that we're working on is developing a vaccine to enhance our natural killer cells' ability to detect cancer and fight cancer off better. Inflammation is a general response to tissue injury. It involves edema, swelling, changes in temperature and things like that, which help slow the spread of the virus and help speed up the repair process, and also let us know that there's damage. Phagocytosis involves certain types of cells called neutrophils and monocytes and macrophages, which we've talked about already. When we talk about blood, there are different types of white blood cells, both in the blood and in the tissue, that act kind of like the body's Pac-Man cells, and they destroy foreign particles. They destroy foreign cells by engulfing them and then fusing them with digestive enzymes to break them down. And finally, fever. By having a fever, as long as it's not so high that it damages the proteins and enzymes in your body, can, in many cases, slow down bacterial growth, microbial growth, because, like us, that there's an ideal temperature that they grow best at. But fever can also do things like increase phagocytosis, speed up the repair process, speed up the attraction of immune system chemicals to the site of infection.